of our family life. And our family encompasses this community in such a strong way. It's one that really is our essential neshama, and ever more so with the losses that we've experienced. So I grew up in a family with a father who was native in Yiddish, who spoke Gedechte Glitziana Yiddish that he learned in his home, starting in the Bronx, though he was sometimes mistaken for a Polisher just because he spoke it so well. It never quite stuck, as our generation is so typical. And when we discovered KlezKamp and KlezKanada, we found a community in which that was such a rich part of our lives. And Adrienne's voice and words and spirit and commitment really became a centerpiece for us of that experience, both in large audiences, seeing her at Mikveh, performing in Philadelphia and elsewhere, in the wonderful, wonderful performance of Essen with Lawrence Glamberg and Frank London, which Daniel and I saw in Boston somewhat therapeutically. Daniel had just been through some medical issues, and we went there and we were healed by those wonderful voices and beautiful choreography of the table that they brought to that show. We wanted to bring it to Philadelphia and actually weren't able to, and so that's a piece of sadness. We came to know Adrienne really much closer, and especially my young men. And an example of what this community does for us as a family, our young men now lead us, and we them, but in various ways. But in our relationship to Adrienne, it's clearly our young men leading us. Adrienne and Daniel and Aaron became close friends to Sarah, and Daniel has performed with her in many places. They went to Pesach at Adrienne's. We never had that chance. And Daniel played on the Enchanted album, which, it connects us and binds us in such a dramatic way. So Sunday morning, as we were ready to drive here, we picked up Daniel, and he said, "We need to go to the hospital." And so we drove into Manhattan, and by noon arrived at the hospital and found the collection of us and the greater us, who were there shepherding Sarah, shepherding Adrienne. Daniel went inside, and was one of those who really were physically comforting to Adrienne in those last hours. I couldn't do it. And I couldn't do it because this has been a really tough year. So let me take us back to the scene a year ago at the end of Adrienne's song class. And both my parents at that point were with us, but doing very poorly. My father had been through a series of illnesses, bladder infections, pneumonias and such, and had been really quite debilitated. And I wanted to bring him a song that we loved, that we grew up listening to Theodor Bickel's recording and to other recordings, called Rayzele, the Mordecai Gebirtig song. And I knew that Adrienne's voice would be very special. I don't think she's recorded that song. I think actually Bob Friedman, who knows all these things, said no, there doesn't exist a recording of that song that she's done. So at the end of class, I said, "Could you record this for me?" And I sat there with my iPad and recorded 2 takes, and that's what we were just listening to. And we'll listen again. And I imagined that bringing it home and playing it for my father and playing it for my mother, who loved it especially, would bring them some comfort. And my father listened to it, but he wasn't really comfortable enough or certainly not comfortable enough to show it. He passed away in April on Shabbat Hagadol. And my mother, who had Alzheimer's, ended up spending her last 3 months in Philadelphia with us at a suitable place. And I tried to play it for her, and she pushed it away, which reflected to me that it had touched her in a way that at that point she couldn't cope with. This was so central, this expression was so central that when I came to write the eulogy for my father that I spoke, I ended it reading from Gebirtig's words. And I'd like to share the way I ended that before we listen to Adrienne again, because it reflects the feelings that I have for Adrienne and my father together. And I think that helps. So I'll express this again to my father, but I'll thank Adrienne as I say that, if I can say it. Dad, I wish you the peace you so deserve, as I remember and share my father's firm grip and Adrienne's songs with my friends, family and friends in the days and God willing years to come. The last verse of one of your favorite songs, Rayzele, by Mordecai Gebirtig, conveys the Yiddish word and sound you loved. Translated, so cheerfully I go my way, singing and cracking nuts, listening to the patter of her little feet on the steps. Again the house and street fall silent. Come to me in dreams, Rayzele. Come to me in dreams, Chana Freda. Kum, kum, kum. Geich mir a freiliche, singen knack mir niselig, gerrig auf die trepplich laufen, ihre droben fieselig. Wieder steht vertracht das Gessel, sheiselt wieder stumm. Komm zu mir in Cholem Rayzele, komm zu mir in Cholem, Chana Freda. Kum, kum, kum. So let's listen again to Adrienne singing the whole song.
Steht sich dort in Gessele, still vertracht der Heisele. Drinnen auf dem Beudenstiebel wohnt mein Teier Rayzele. Jeden auf den Fahren Heisel dreh ich sich herum. Ich geb a Pfeif und ruf aus Rayzele. Komm, komm, komm. Öffnet sich a Fenster, wacht auf satte Heisele. Und bald klingt in stillen Gessel, als ich's kosret Rayzele. Noch a Weile wart mein Lieber, bald will ich sein frei. Geh sich noch a paar Mal über 1, 2, 3. Geh ich mir a freiliche, sing und knack mir nisselach. Herr ich auf die Beudenstiebel, ihre drobne Fieselech. Scheuner auf von letzten Treppel, ich nehm sie lieber um. Ich geb sie still a Kusch in Käppel, komm, komm, komm. Ich will dich betten, Davidl, sollst da Reus nicht pfeifen mehr. Herrst, der pfeift schon, sagt die Mame, sie ist frums, verdrisst sie sehr. Pfeifen, sagt sie, ist nicht jiddisch, es passt nur bloß für sie. Gib a Zeichen, Prost auf jiddisch, 1, 2, 3. Ich will von heint nicht pfeifen mehr, drauf geb ich a Schwurele. Dir zu lieb will ich a viele wären fromm, mein Snuele. Ich will sein, wenn du willst nur Rayzele, wie dein Mame fromm. Jeden Schabbos gehen in Kleisel, komm, komm, komm. Ich glaube es dir, mein Liebinger, und erfahrt dir Davidl. Strick ich a schenkt vielen Säckel mit am Morgen Davidl. Wenn gefällens wird in Kleisel, sorgen sollst du sehen. So hat gestrickt mein lieber Rayzele, 1, 2, 3. Ich dank für deine Tonnele, ich liebe so die Rayzele. Ich lieb dein Mammen, ich lieb das Gessel, ich lieb das alte Heisele. Ich lieb die ständig Leben Heisel, trest auf sie herum. Dein Mama ruft schon, Rayzele, komm, komm, komm. Geh ich mir a freilicher, sing und knack mir neselig, ich auf die Trepplich laufen, ihre drobne Fieselig. Wieder steht vertracht das Heisel, das Gessel wieder Sturm. Komm zu mir in Cholem, Rayzele, komm, komm, komm.
Adrienne, friends, may we keep your voice, your words, your spirit, your commitment, your soul alive in our lives, and that which we do, that which we sing, that which we say, for the rest of our lives, the lives of our children, and the years to come.